Welcome to the competitive review, where unlike my competition, my opinions are facts. I'm Khonjin, and this is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I wanted to start this series with an RPG because RPGs are the worst games ever made.
But Khonjin...
No, shut up. Shut your goddamn mouth. You know it's true. It's been true for 30 years. Level grinding, making sure that defeating your enemy was not a matter of if, but when. Random encounters, probably the most egregious sin of them all. Punishing the player for exploring the world around them and making the game a little longer. Pointless backtracking. The most shameless of the game-padding fuck brothers, probably filled to the brim with, you guessed it, random encounters. Stat weapons. You just beat the first boss and you're at the next town, and some shop guy is like,
"Hey, you wanna buy a sword? It's the sword too. It's like your first one, except better."
Wow, gee, let me think about that. So you buy the weapon. Congrats, you have stronger stats now, but hold your horses, Goku. There's just one problem. The enemies you're facing now also have boosted stats, so it's just as effective as the last one. The battles will not change as a result of this weapon. The only way you'll notice a difference is when you are inadvertently forced to backtrack. And at that point, you won't even want to fight the weaker enemies because the experience they yield is so minuscule. Why even bother?
Quadruple digit stats.
I have a friend who sometimes likes to talk about his battle scars in RPGs. And he'll tell me shit like this.
Do you even know how much damage the boss does? 9 million.
Alright, what does that mean? At some point, the numbers get so high that not only do they lose their weight, they're hard to keep track of, and then you're just firing off attacks. There's no more strategy left. There wasn't a lot to begin with, but now here we are. And this last grievance is kind of a nitpick, but 7 billion years ago, Christopher Columbus swam across the sea to murder all the Native Americans. As the last tribesman lay on his deathbed, he muttered these words: "Every RPG in existence will have antidotes." And then he died of poisoning. They are always there. They're always in the first shop. They're always the cheapest item. They always take up one inventory slot. There is always an item that cures all status ailments instead of just poisoning. So why is it there? I'm convinced that this is a beginner's trap to teach people, hey, you know, you don't have infinite space. Sometimes you'll get shitty-ass items like this one. So, be careful. I love how they offer them in the beginning of the game, when you will not encounter enemies that will poison you until much later on, and by that time, you'll have the cure-all item. Even if you don't have the item that cures all status ailments, enemies drop antidotes. They always do. It's the most common one they drop. It's useless. With all this in mind, I think it's fair to mention that there was a time in history called the Big Bang where all these mechanics were acceptable. People wanted to make these big, long adventure games and technology was very restricting. So in that era, I understand it. There weren't a lot of options. So why do we have this? Or these? With all these thoughts in mind, let's move on to Paper Mario and the Big Door. The plot as a whole is largely unremarkable. Princess Peach gets a map from a merchant that shows the locations of magical objects called crystal stars. She gives Mario the map and is then immediately kidnapped by X-Nauts, who also want the crystal stars to do evil. It's up to Mario to get the 8 crystal stars and Peach back. Now, even though the plot standard is whatever, the game's writing shines the more the story is individualized. The game is split into 8 chapters, which may as well be 8 unique stories to the game. The first has you slaying a dragon for the crystal star. The third has Mario becoming a prize fighter for a championship belt. The 5th has Mario working for the Mafia so that he can ride a train. And the 7th has Mario jump into a cannon so he can blast to the moon to stop a computer from watching Peach shower. Just to sample a few. And within those chapters is what everyone knows Paper Mario for, the dialogue. Everything you've heard about it is true. It's wonderful. Some of these lines look like things that I wrote. Like, look at this shit. There is so much shit in this story that you will never again see in a Mario game for as long as you live. Remember that quip about a computer watching Peach shower? That's not a joke. Right after the first chapter, you are required to have Peach take a shower.
Quick edit here. Turns out you don't have to make Peach shower. It's just extremely heavily implied that you have to do that, you fucking game.
Once you do this, the door you couldn't open before will now be opened by the computer named Tech, who is, for all intents and purposes, a discount HAL 9000. He then informs Peach that he watched her shower and then fell in love with her, and sends her on missions that require her to be naked to complete them. This is hilarious. This is the greatest thing ever. Tech's story is he wants to fuck Peach and then dies. This is unequivocally the best thing Nintendo has ever done. Paper Mario, even by today's standards, is a gorgeous game, which is why it brings me such joy that they start you off in a complete shithole. Look at this mess. The first NPC you encounter really drives it home with the,
"You better save, 'cause you never know when you're gonna die."
The centerpiece of the main hub world is a fucking hanging noose. Welcome to Paper Mario. Kill yourself. And by the way, the room I showed you earlier is a murder scene in the Japanese version. Fantastic. The artists really deserve credit for this. The paper style made the game age so well. Everything looks so beautiful here that there's pictures of Peach all over this man's house, and I'm going to leave. That being said, everything here looks so beautiful that I just can't gloss over the fact that I walked out of a Peach shrine. I can't do this. If you want to nitpick something, maybe some textures could be upgraded, but if that's your only problem, you really did something right here. Can we take a moment to talk about the audio?
Paper Mario OMG, the soundtrack in RPG, Rondo Beat.exe, DTYDMC, F9 Fortress MP3, got more game than fucking me, hands up there if you agree, then let's sleep Bogley Tree.
Well, this isn't the Bogley Tree, it's Bogley Woods. But it's very good. The soundtrack is phenomenal. There is music for every little thing that happens in this game, and it's all good no matter the genre. Take this boss fight. And this song. Also worth noting, the game's final boss theme is a masterpiece. This is not a debatable opinion. If you disagree, it's because you have had a wasp infestation in your food pantry for the past 12 years that to this day still sting your ears off every time you have that cinnamon graham dunker's craving, so you misdirect your anger at innocent compositional geniuses. Well, newsflash, the hornets will take over your house and you'll starve to death, and the last thing you'll hear is... The sound effects in these games are also great. I feel as though sound effects are largely unsung heroes of game design. Despite contributing a lot to the feel of a game, there are even equipable items to change the sound effects of your attacks. The only nitpick that comes to mind is crowd sound effects, which become repetitive and take you out of the game, but everything else is so great it makes you want to overlook it.
Paper Mario, on the surface, runs like an RPG. You walk, you talk, you battle, level up, equip items, kill Aerosmith, and get bad sequels. But what's done with it speaks to the brilliance of the designers who made it work. And this is made no more apparent than when you level up. You get your standard fanfare and then are presented with the same 3 choices every time. HP, your health, FP, essentially mana, and badge points? Like, you know, what is that? It doesn't matter what it is. Without knowing what the badge points are, the implications of this are still huge. It makes you think, do I not need HP or FP to beat this game? Because with an option like that, it almost seems like a challenge from the game itself. Well, it is possible, thanks to the game's badge system and its battle system. It's a turn-based system that manages to incorporate players' skills rather than players' free time. You can take 0 damage from enemy attacks with precise inputs at all times. You can style on enemies while attacking them. The star power system encourages these inputs while also providing incentive to battle weaker enemies. You can kill audience members, but most importantly, you can be invested in these goddamn battles because there are a lot of them if you choose to fight them in the first place. And we haven't even gone into the badge system yet. My god, this is the crowning achievement of the game by far. The badge points mentioned before allow you to equip more badges as you accumulate them. And badges can do fucking anything. They can give you new attacks, they can allow you to use 2 items, make your sound effects like gay frogs, skip battles like Earthbound, give you money, give me money, give me your fucking money, I'm not pulling this out for show and tell. Programmers have such a thankless job when it comes to making systems like these. A good game is never advertised as buy Paper Mario. It has a battle system that defies traditional RPGs with a level up system that allows you to decide how you want your game to be played. They're always advertised as Paper Mario has a funny horse and the crystal stars have Peach and Bowser. and you have to pet the penguins to save Congo Jungle. And everything else that's found in the game is just expected of them, unless they fuck it up. But there is a certain magic to discovering the inner workings of a game when they are not completely explained to you. And so all one can really ask for is to have their efforts be rewarded. Did Paper Mario succeed? And that brings us back to the beginning. Level grinding, completely phased out due to the way that you can approach enemies. Random encounters are non-existent. The enemies move about on the overworld, allowing you to avoid fights altogether. Stat weapons, outclassed by the badge system, which contains a total of 1 stat-boosting badge, while the rest hold a myriad of effects that truly change how battles play out. Quadruple-digit stats. Hell, there isn't even triple-digit stats outside of grinding your HP or FP, which is completely unnecessary. When you start off Paper Mario, you deal out a maximum of 2 damage when you attack with the action command. I love this. It makes it very easy to understand the worth of your attacks. When an enemy deals 6 damage, you go, Jesus H. Christ, 6? What the fuck? Pointless backtracking. You were so fucking close, game. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, for reasons I will never understand, was unable to beat pointless backtracking. I am immensely disappointed. Mostly because Paper Mario is such a huge game to begin with. How in the world were they not satisfied with the size of it when they decided to pad this shit out?
You can use the cannon if you find the right bomb. Mario, I'm dying. Get me a soda. You can have the train tickets, they're in Indonesia. Can you get me something from the first game? Fuck you!
And on top of all this, I have one other grievance that I must discuss.
Look at your surroundings in Chapter 2. An artist put their soul into that. Listen to the music and the ruffling of the grass. The audio designers cared so much. Watch as the Two Stooges and Vivian, the best character in the game by eons and galaxies, are introduced. The writers are reveling in a game they believe in. Everything is so beautiful. The goddamn tree. They handed this part off to the interns. What happened? The programmers decided to make Pikmin in goddamn ActionScript, and the level designers had just woken up from a Metroid-related nightmare, and thus the following happens. Mario goes through the big-ass tree where everything looks the same with a bunch of dumbass grayscale Stunfisk spawn that are so poorly coded that you can lose them by walking in a straight line with no obstacles. Every single one is required to progress through the tree, so if you lose any, you either have to go back to where you think you lost them, or return to the fucking entrance of the tree where an old lady would call them back for you. This is such a horrible mess. You are in a level where you will repeatedly get lost because it is impossible to discern where you are supposed to go. So you lose the punies only to get them back, only for yourself to get lost. Just as you begin to find your way, you lose the punies by accidentally kicking one of them with the back of your shoe, and in the process of going back to retrieve them, you forget where the fuck you were even going. When you finally get to where you need to go, they decide to take one last stand against all that is good by being unwieldy. In the moment of truth, you make it to the end, and what Lord Crump does next was very sobering. You know, I wrote this, and I didn't realize how much it would sound like BuzzFeed until I said it out loud. He activates a bomb that will explode in 300 seconds, or 5 minutes. I legitimately didn't know if 5 minutes was going to be enough to escape, because you also have to do it with the fucking shitter beasts in tow. You almost make it out, and there's a cutscene, and you may notice something interesting. The people are talking, but the timer is still going. You piece of shit. Guess I'm not reading this. Fight the boss, and it's finally over. It defies all logic that a section as long and horrible as this exists in such a fantastic game.
Also, the fucking antidote. It's here. It's like, it cures all, so I guess that's better, but it's right here. Paper Mario got rid of a lot of bullshit that previous RPGs thrust onto its shoulders. If you can look past moments of backtracking and are able to will yourself through that stupid goddamn tree, you'll find that its weaknesses are clearly overshadowed by its greatness. It stands as a testament to where RPGs should be, but gives you more in fun than it does in novelty. I give Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door an 8 out of 10. Now get the fuck out of my house.